My name's Deborah Goodall. I have been working in marketing for 25 years. Last year I was elected to be a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Marketing, and my background is in direct marketing, and I started off in mail order businesses and quite often end up working with mail order businesses. And data has always been a key part of my marketing career. So right from that very first mail order business, where we used to identify hotspots and not spots on catalogue pages so we could shift products and influence customers' buying habits, through to taking that business online and setting up the first website must have been about 99, maybe a bit after. Anyway, so data's kind of always formed a key part, but the main thing that is the fundamental of using that information is to understand your customers more, which can then lead to business growth through customer retention and customer acquisition. So often I'm faced with this response when I ask people, do they understand their customers and who are their target audience? People say to me, why do I need to understand my customers? I sell to everyone. My product and my service is for everybody. And it's just not true, which is my typical response to them. You never sell to everybody, you sell to segments of everyone. And it's likely that a business would have 4 or 5 different segments of customers or customer types. But by understanding them, you can sell more to them and sell to them more frequently. But you can also find more people like them, so you can start and grow that bank of customers. So this is a quote from one of my favourite books, and I know this isn't a literature discussion, but actually I feel that there's a lot of things that marketeers can take from this. And this is from Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird, and it's when Atticus Finch is talking to his daughter Scout, and he says to her, you never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb into his skin and walk around in it. Now, I think that this is so true on so many levels, and basically people should probably apply it to life. But from a marketing point of view, what we really need to do is start considering things from the customer's point of view and really climb into their skin and walk around in it and walk through our own customer experience that we're delivering as though we are that customer. So, for example, research teams within healthcare businesses such as Procter & Gamble and Unilever would send a member of their team out to go and live with families to actually understand how they used product and how they used competitors' product and how it fit into their life, but also to find out more about their life and their lifestyle, to really start and understand the nuances that make them either a P&G or Unilever product user. And they invested really heavily into that. So what do you need to know to be able to climb into the skin of your customers and walk around in it? So back when I started in marketing a long time ago, there's the basics, and I guess that, you know, back then this would have been what you know, the information that we had. We didn't really have loads and loads of data and information to be able to refine our target audiences, although we did do it to some extent by interest. But yeah, gender, age, socioeconomic group, if it's business to business, then job title, SIC code, location, postcode data, that kind of thing. And people then say to me, oh, well, we're business to business, we're a little bit different. Well, my argument back to the people who say this to me is that really it's business to individual. And this is what people need to try and get their head around. So this session looks at reaching customers on more of a personal level to build emotional connections and make relationships. So it doesn't matter whether you are a business to consumer business or business to business business, you're connecting with an individual in some way. And so by understanding the needs of that individual you can strengthen that connection. So what's good to know and why? So I've pulled together a few key things here about what I think makes a difference when you're understanding who your customers are. So there's the type of language that your customers use. So you need to speak their language. And I'm not talking about whether they speak English or French, although that's obviously fundamental if you're selling overseas. I'm talking about how you express what you sell and not using jargon. So I've been working with a company recently who works in the industrial sector, and it took me ages to work out actually what this business did. And I chatted with them about, you know, what they did, and in the end I was like, look, just really dumb this down. And they realised that they didn't actually understand what they did. They all used lots of jargon in the office. And then you've got into conversations about what do your customers understand this? Well, no, people come onto our website and leave. And it's like, well, we need to look at that. So cut through the jargon as a start point, but then use language that reflects your brand so that you're making that emotional connection. So if you think about a brand as being partially emotional and partially reality, then you need to think about the types of language that your customers are going to connect with, the words and phrases that they use to describe what you do, but also how they speak generally. What's the buying goals of your customer? Are they looking for an experience from one end to the other of that customer journey, or do they literally just want to buy something and have it either delivered to their house, or, you know, you walk into a shop, pick something up off a shelf and leave? So, you know, it's good to know if they're looking for an experience, are you delivering that experience from end to end? So for me, if I buy coffee online, so if I'm buying coffee, I want an experience. Coffee is not cheap. Good coffee is not cheap. And I want to have an experience right from the moment that I've clicked, well, pre-purchase, you know, right from the moment I've landed on the website, to be honest. But from the moment that box turns up on my doorstep, I want to be able to lift the lid, see the tasting notes, beautiful packaging, smell the coffee. You know, it's part of the overall experience. And the coffee company that I buy my coffee from deliver that experience because they know that their customers want that as part of that purchasing pattern. So, and if you're in that sort of business to business environment, the buying goals is the same. You know, people might want an experience, or they might just want to buy. Or if you're not dealing with the actual decision maker, is there something that you can do to aid the decision making by presenting something in a specific way to make it easier for the person you're dealing with to actually get that decision made further up the tree? So understanding what buying goals are, understanding what motivates your customers to buy from you rather than buy from your competitors. Why are they making that decision to come with you? Important to know. What are their objections to buying? And you want to know this because you want to be able to address these problems, these objections, you know, before people even realise that they have them. So your marketing collateral, your website, your advertising should project reasons to buy that actually overcome those objections. Purchasing patterns. Do people only buy discounted items? Are they loyal customers? Do they flip from one brand to another? Are they buying on a regular basis? So are you making the most of the information that you have to be able to present people with things that they want to buy or need to buy? Or are you hoping and wishing that they come back to your business to be able to do that repurchase? So I worked with a mail order lingerie brand last year, and we identified a whole tranche of customers who would only ever buy discounted items. So we only ever presented them with discounted items. They were never, ever going to be full price purchases. But then equally, we had a whole tranche of customers who basically were in a pattern for buying. And it was like, well, actually, we know that they're going to buy every 6 months, I think it was. So why don't we send them an email in 5 months' time, presenting them with the products that we know they're going to be interested in, kind of bring that purchasing forward, get more sales out of them. We're also looking to find out what devices they use. You know, are they on a phone, a tablet, a desktop? Are they Android? Are they Apple? So this all helps with presentation of websites, documents, emails. You know, if you are sending an email to a business contact and they predominantly read all their emails on their phone, you're going to want to keep that probably quite short and to the point. You're not going to scroll and read for ages on your screen, on a small screen. So this kind of like starts and build up to more and more of a picture. Obviously, we want to know what their media consumption and usage is, you know, where they hang out digitally, what they read offline, you know, which networking events they go to, that kind of thing. And we're also looking to find out what are the pain points that would stop them buying from you. So if you're getting abandoned carts on your website, or people are coming onto your website and just leaving, then actually what is stopping them making that decision? Are you out of stock too frequently? Is it too much hassle ordering? Do you not have one click to purchase? Do you not have PayPal? Have people got to go find a debit card? What is the pain point that would stop them buying from you? So these are the kind of like the basics of what I think it's really useful to know and why. And you're all sat there now going, well, Deborah, that's brilliant. Where the hell do you get all this information from? So you've probably got a lot of this information within your business already, but it's probably being used for a different purpose. And it's just a matter of reframing your mind as to actually, oh yeah, we do have that information. And actually we can start and build this picture of our customers. So your customer database is your #1 resource within your business. These are your current customers. They're already interacting with you, and you've got all their details. So information you might have information about, you know, where they live, what their job title is, where their business is located, how they want addressing. If you've got postcode data, that's so valuable. If you want to really get into the nitty-gritty of profiling, you could match that against a thing called ACORN, which is a classification of residential neighbourhoods, which tells you a lot about where your customers live. So the whole of the UK is profiled on ACORN, and it tells you things about affluence, demographics, but also whether people are empty nesters, whether they've got kids at home, whether they're in private education, a whole raft of information that has been brought together, which is just fantastic for being able to build those pictures. It's not cheap to access, but in some cases it's very worthwhile doing. Your customer database will also tell you about buying frequency. Are people one-off purchasers? Are they coming back to you? Do you know why they're not coming back to you? What products do they purchase? Is there a pathway that you're sending people through? So if I'm buying coffee from somewhere, for example, and it's the first time I've bought that brand of coffee, I'll just buy a small bag of beans, because you don't want to take the risk of having a big bag of beans that tastes pretty rubbish. But then if it's good, I'll go back and you'll be spending, you know, 50, 60 pounds on beans, and you'll become quite a loyal customer. So this again all builds up this picture of who your customers are, you know, and is there a pattern to that purchasing? Do people naturally buy one of 3 things to start off with and then funnel through into bigger orders? The source of the original order. So ask your customers, how did you hear about us? How did you find our website? How did you find our business? How did you get our phone number? It's so fundamental to being able to work out what is working in your marketing and what isn't. And also feeds into one of my lower points about lifetime value of the customer. So if you can calculate out the actual or projected lifetime value of a customer, you can then, that can influence what you're prepared to spend to attract that customer to your business in the first place. Look also at whether they respond to your emails. So actually, are they part of your community? Do they ignore? Do they read? Do they buy? Do they share? Are you starting to build a level of loyalty on your customer database through any emails that you send out? And obviously, speak to them. Send them a survey. Ask them why. Ask them why not. They will speak to you. Customers like to be asked for an opinion. Some of them will tell you more than you think you want to know. I was speaking with a business earlier this week, and they actually have a closed Facebook group, which is almost like a focus group. And they use that to question whether people, they're in the fashion industry, question whether people are interested in different fabric prints, what styles they want, is there something missing from their range, what do they think about adding this product extension in. So really those customers are shaping that business because they don't launch anything without having gone through that process previously. So it's almost like they're on a track for success with everything that's launched. With your social media pages, you can start and look at the language that they use to interact with your business. How do they speak to you? Are they asking questions? Are they using different descriptors or different words to what you're using? Are there cues that you should be picking up on and then taking into the posts that you're putting out there? There's all the sort of obvious insights in the back end of the social media channels that can really start and build a picture. And the other brands that they interact with. And this can be important for a couple of things, really. You can start and build a picture of them and their lives. So when I worked in healthcare and we had big budgets that we used to spend lots of, we would do a lot of research and find out what brands our customers interact with. This was pre-social media, by the way. But then we would get illustrators in to listen to us talking about our customers so that they could illustrate beautifully what our customers look like, what their kitchen was like, what car was parked on the driveway, what their house looked like, what their children were like. We had all these pictures all up over the office. If your budget's not that big, and I have worked with some much smaller businesses, cutting images out of magazines, just the same thing. But also brands that they interact with is useful for identifying any partner marketing opportunities. So is there something that they are interested in that complements your product or service so you could reach more customers or build more brand loyalty by working with that other company? On Facebook, obviously, you can also see how your business page compares to your competitors, which is another interesting sort of data source in providing information that can help you build up this picture of who your customers are. Okay, so Google Analytics, which can turn into an absolute rabbit warren of information. It's something where you could spend days in there, basically. It's such a fantastic repository of information for people who have come to your website. And a lot of people have Google Analytics on the back of their website, but then they don't really use it. It's almost like it's a bit scary because it's too big. And to me, actually, there's a few key points you can pick out of there without being overwhelmed, especially in terms of building up this picture of who your customers are. So media consumption and usage. So what is actually driving traffic to your site? And again, this can start and give you cues to actually who these people are. So I have an events business, and one of the things that was driving a lot of traffic to our website for that business was redbull.com. And actually that was a really interesting insight for us, that because we're not, redbull.com normally sponsors extreme sports and very extreme sports people. So it was interesting for us that we were getting traffic from that site, and actually they were converting to be customers. And ultimately that led to developing a relationship with Red Bull, where they would have been coming to our event in 2020, but obviously we cancelled. Anyway, but it can drive kind of information about building up this picture of who your customers are. You can see all the usual demographic information. You can also see affinity categories, so what else they're interested in, which goes back to that sort of partner marketing opportunity. But then you can use that information for if you're doing any sort of online advertising, where should those ads be going? What else are they going to be reading? So it's building this profile that can start and get your brand in front of more and more customers. You can look at what browser they're using, and again, you know, whether they're accessing your information using a mobile or a desktop or a tablet, what pages they use on your website, which again, you know, it's worth following those journeys through. The fashion business I was dealing with earlier on this week, they'd mapped out what they thought people should do on their website, and I spent some time looking on their website, putting things in a basket, and they had assumed that people would then go view basket before checkout. I'd gone straight to checkout, which meant that I missed all of the information regarding how to get free delivery by spending more. There was a threshold, but if you go straight to checkout, that just wasn't there. So they're now thinking about, actually, you know, people don't know that if they spent more, they'd get free delivery. So they're changing the way that they're presenting that. It's also interesting to know when they abandon their shopping. You know, this could be highlighting a pain point in your process. So do they get to that checkout and then go, oh no, you know, and is that suggesting that it's too much hassle to order? You've not got one-click purchase, you don't offer PayPal, Amazon Pay, whatever. And also, you know, how quickly do they buy? Are they coming to your website and then looking at your social media, getting an e-newsletter, coming back to your website, or are they just coming on and buying? You know, again, it's all starting to build this image of who your customers are. And then there's your reviews. And this is hugely more than just a review. And whether it's good or bad, it is actually feedback on your product or service. And this can help shape new product development and customer service itself. So with the lingerie company, it's 100% mail order. And actually the reviews were suggesting that really, you know, people order several bras in different sizes so they can get the fit right, or they don't like switching from one brand within the collection to another because they don't know whether the fit will be right and stuff like this. And actually part of the strategy for overcoming that was to set up virtual fitting rooms. So, you know, by looking at those reviews, it sparked off conversations internally about how can we deal with that. So it gives you clues as to actually that was a bit of a pain point for some customers, and how can you overcome it. And again, you can look at the language that's used by the customer to be able to develop your offering into something that they understand fully. And your sales team, if you've got one, are just such a fountain of knowledge for your customers. They're interacting with them on a frequent basis, and either use their knowledge or go out with your sales team. So I worked in pet food. I've had a very varied career, actually. I worked in pet food for a while, and sort of four weeks out of every year, I would go out on the road with the sales team to find out what their customers wanted, so the business to business element of it, but actually then also see who was in those stores. And what were they doing and how were they moving around the store, and was there anything we could do in store to promote our products better? You know, rather than being separate from the customer experience, immerse yourself in it and use that information to shape decisions going forward. If you use a telesales team, then listen in on those calls. What are the objections that are coming through? You know, are they? Is it just about price? Is it not enough information? Is it something you can address by improving the copy on your website or your marketing collateral? So there's lots and lots of information that you can get just by listening or speaking to people. So then you kind of get all of this data together and collate it to build this picture of your customers, and you can walk in their shoes. And it's very much worthwhile, once you've built up these profiles of your target audience, actually walking through your process as if you were your customers. Now, I tend to develop personas, you know, and so you'd have like Harry and Ian and Elizabeth or Joe or whatever. And you can go through the whole buying experience as though you were that customer and think, does this meet their expectations? Are we overcoming their objections? Have we still got pain points in there? Are we reaching them in the right way? Are we using the right language to talk to them? You can influence their purchase patterns. You can connect with them on a much more emotional level, which increases loyalty. And you can build your business by finding more customers like them. So that has been a little bit of a whistle-stop tour. So I hope that you found this session interesting and useful, and if anybody wants to connect, then do find me on LinkedIn. Thanks very much.